I got this production stuff down to a T. You know, everyone can complain about Swarmers all they want, but people are disgusting. They will sit around and watch it just to figure out who wins, to see who's got more stamina. But okay, guys, here we are on stream number B. This is the Lone Star Clash 3. Hey, those things rhymed. Look at me. I'm Rifkin, and I hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast so far. Hope you're having a great day. And this is game number 2 in this best of 3. Spawning in the top right corner of the map, currently down 1 at the moment. He's the blue Zerg player from Samsung Galaxy, Armani, aka Burning. His opponent in the upper left, a barcode. But you might know this barcode a little bit better as Evil Genius's HuK. Oops. Wait. There we go. Hit the spin, not hit enter. Now it's kind of curious, and what's really cool, that I really enjoyed out of what HuK did in that last game is, it's not so much that was the cannon rush. In one hand, you're kind of like, that was okay, whatever, Protoss, cheese, etc. But he did it in a very intelligent, very sneaky way. If you're just joining us, first off, go watch the game. Don't go through the VODs, whatever you got to do. But what ended up happening, the Too Long Didn't Read version, was HuK went for the gateway first. It looked like a gateway expanded. Armani scouted that with a drone. As soon as that drone left the base, he threw down that forge, and he was ready to sneak cannons into that natural mineral line. Now, Habitation Station's a little bit more dangerous to do this on, because sometimes that will coerce a Zerg player to go in for a gold as their natural instead of their own actual natural. So I don't know that we'd necessarily see those same tactics again out of HuK, but again, HuK saves these really cool builds and these stranger play stylings for the big tournaments, boys and girls. You're going to get to see entertaining games pretty much for surezies. Now, wait, he's in his... Okay, goes for 15, expand. That's fine. So I'm not going to have the gateway down here. Actually, did he did spend Chronos. Okay, I was going to say, like, sometimes you'd expect us to be closer to 17 when you normally have that Nexus first come down, but that's fine the way he's doing it. Not like it's bad by any means. But Nexus first is a really bold move to take. Against a player like Armani, it ends up working, because Armani doesn't classically go for earlier circlings. He doesn't go for fast speeds. He doesn't try and do speedling all-ins. Now, you change the game up and put this in the hands of, like, say, Nurchio or somebody else, yeah, you got to be worried about going Nexus first. But HuK is playing to, I think, the combination of his own strengths and the fact that I'm not sure how much research he's done on Armani. But guys and girls, I've cast a lot of Armani through the Zotac Cups, through the Go for Starcrafts, and not really want to go for this faster speedling. So, oops, pressing the wrong buttons again. He does respond to this with not aggression, but his own greed. Takes a third very, very fast. In fact, right before pool. So it's not going to be 3-hatch gas pool, but it is going to be 3-hatch pool. So, does get to play a little bit greedier off of this. Now, because this isn't going to be that gold base, we're going to see that sort of normal play stylings. The gold base is kind of, I feel, a bit of a... I guess you could almost refer to it as an adrenaline shot. Like, if you take a gold base early on, whether you're Zerg or Protoss, you're going to have this massive economy for probably about a good 8 minutes. But as it starts mining out, you start winding down, and you start feeling that burn. And it's cost players some games. You might look like you're ahead, but if you just can't break them before the gold mines out, all of a sudden you've lost your giant advantage. So by saving this for later, you also get to turn on the extra heat, I guess, a little bit later as well. But the Cybercore coming down in the actual wall off, it's not something we've seen in a long time. A big part of this is because early Roach busts were knocking these down before Warp Tech was finished. A lot of Protoss players were getting kind of screwed by it, but I think he'll be okay. Because again, Armani's not the type of player you typically see go for these crazy all-ins. Like, you're not going to see 3 base all-in out of him anytime soon. Maybe versus Terran, because let's be honest, Roach Baneling is incredibly strong. But not versus Protoss. Not here on the Lone Star Clash 3 settings. Not this stage. And as far as worker count goes, of course, HuK's a little bit ahead for the time being. Big part of this is the beauty of Chrono Boost, combined with the fact that he's got that extra base down so early. He's actually opting to not go for Mothership Core, and this is definitely going to be intentional for the time being. He's got the gas for it, but the gas is better spent on pretty much anything else. The Sentry, perhaps getting a Stargate out. Oh, actually 3 gates. Is he going to go to 4? If he goes to 4, that's really dirty. Oh, but he lets the Lings in the base. This is a bit unfortunate. Because, of course, he doesn't want him to see the extra gateways coming down the main. He doesn't want him to know that this is going to be 4 gates of pressure possibly coming across the map. So, for HuK, he's faced with a really big question right now, and that's, do you... No? Okay, I already answered this before I could ask the question. I was going to say, do you continue with the 4 gates, or do you invest in another tech path? Now, granted, a Stargate with 4 gates can still be really effective. If he's going to get an Oracle out of this, then HuK is truly a North American. But if he goes for Phoenixes, I'm going to be elated, as I think Phoenixes are probably the best way you can play out any sort of Stargate opener, regardless of whether it's delayed or whether it was intentionally first. But the Spine Collar on the way. This is an awkward Roach Horn, but it does keep units from going straight up that ramp, so a bit of a Small wall off, I guess. Actually, you know what? If he predicts that roaches were going to come out after seeing those 4 gates, a Void Ray might be the best opener he could possibly hope for, because, you know, there's going to be that prismatic alignment. But HuK, truly embracing his inner North American, will go for the Oracle. Now, there's a multitude of reasons I personally don't like watching players go for Oracles. We see it all the time in the European Cups, more so than anything else, where you send an Oracle in. Well, I shouldn't say the European Cups, the North American Cups is what I meant to say. Because the European Cups are where you start seeing things like the Void Rays, the Cheese, or even the Phoenixes. But when you go for an Oracle, yes, I think Protoss players at this point have figured, hey, wait, this thing can kill a Queen, and a couple drones afterwards. It's fantastic, and unless a Spore Crawler's down, there's not really any stopping it. Some players actually even opted to say, screw it, I'm not even going to go for the Queen, I'll go straight for the drones. And I don't know, you kind of risk getting about maybe 6 to 8 drones, but oftentimes losing the Oracle. It's a bit hard to risk that. And it's also hard to value getting 2 drone kills out of this. So we'll see just what he dedicates to this. With the Queen actually being a little out of position, though, he's not ready to shoot this. He's going to get 2 drones for free before he takes any damage. 4 or 5 may go down in the end here, possibly as high as 7, but with the second Queen coming, he has to get out of here. Because keeping this Oracle alive is way better than any amount of drone kills you can get. HuK is going to barely get out of there with the Oracle. 6 kills. Technically worth it, I suppose. But I like this burrow coming out of Armani. And this is guaranteed because he was predicting a ton of sentries. Now, whether he actually goes for tunneling claws behind this will have to remain to be seen, but speed's always going to be better first one way or the other. But we're seeing a lot of players, especially, again, some of the Koreans, really start embracing this burrow tech, and tunneling claws, of course, as well, to get underneath the sentry force fields. Or if you get caught, rather than losing 8 roaches, you just simply burrow, because timings don't permit Protoss players to have detectors out usually this early. You don't have an observer on the map. The first thing you want to get out of that robo is going to be an immortal, really quick, chronoed out as well. Now, later on in the game, you're eventually, of course, going to have that break time. You'll have that little bit of downtime in your economy where you can afford to squeeze out an observer or 2, but typically you don't see it first. But what's really nice is that Oracle that he kept alive can act as an observer. It can be the detection he needs. A couple links still applying pressure to the 3rd base while this is going on, but the cannon's so nicely set up and the sentries are right there, so not an issue. This infestation pick coming out so quickly, though. What is up with this? I'm not sure why he would go for the faster hive if he is going to go for tunneling claws, but maybe he's not tunneling. I mean, you don't have to invest in tunneling claws with burrow. Burrow's a fantastic tool to have one way or the other, but he is going to get Galil reconstitution first. That movement speed is incredibly important, and it's, you know what? What am I thinking here? This is Habitation Station. Of course it's going to be Swarm Hosts. We got Swarm Hosts on stream A, we got Swarm Hosts on stream B. Swarm Hosts for everybody. We're basically like Oprah Winfrey, just giving out Swarm Hosts for the Lone Star Clash. This is actually a great move to the strengths of the map. There's not a lot of maps where you can set something down near a watchtower and hit all of the bases on the map, but Swarm Hosts on Habitation Station are classically one of those units. A for effort at the Phoenix that's hallucinated, trying to kill the real Overlord, I guess. Or Overseer morphing it, I guess. Colossus are being made out of HuK. Now, you see Swarm Hosts a lot of the time, and there's pros and cons, there's groans and moans, but the reality is for a Protoss player, the best way to beat Swarm Hosts out, guys, is combination Blink and Warp Prism. That's what we see HuK already getting. Now, the Infestation Pit ticking like that, it could have possibly been for Infestors, maybe Fungal Growths, but likely not. One of the biggest things about Swarm Hosts is once you get past the Locust Wave, there's a bit of a cooldown, of course, before they can attack again. So what ends up happening is you'll blink on top of them, you'll focus them down. The Swarm Host count will be low enough that usually a couple sentries with force fields will even keep them at bay. As we see here, he's not exactly taking units down, but he is chipping through the shields. So for Armani, for now, it's okay. The Colossus eventually come out, they'll beat back the Locust Waves, he'll blink forward, he'll pick off a Swarm Host or 2, but if Armani's being smart, he'll be repositioning them after each Locust Wave hatches. What's critical is this Warp Prism now coming to the main. Swarm Hosts are incredibly strong, and there's almost no stopping them, but if you lose the Infestation Pit... I'm gonna sneeze, sorry. Yikes. Apologies about that, guys. If you lose the Infestation Pit, though, you can't make more Swarm Hosts, and 5 Swarm Hosts is no good. It's just not gonna cut it. The Spire coming out may force a complete tech transition just because you won't be able to spend money towards those Swarm Hosts, but he's got a Roach attack going on the other side of the map. He knocks down a Colossus, he gets on top of the cannon. HuK decides to shut down this base, but the Swarm Hosts actually turning him back home. Roaches still have yet to deal with these Zealots. He's not kiting, he's hitting them head on. Bit of a mistake there, taking a lot of unnecessary damage, but hey, guess what comes into this? The Oracle comes back into play. Unfortunately, though, the Spore Crawler just repositioned itself, so... actually not going to help too much. But the last couple Zealots will be cleaned up. Roaches did not kill that much on the other side of the map either. This looked a lot more scary than it really was. Oh, sick burrow tactic. But it's only one Roach. It's not a big threat. Yeah, the Observer comes over and cleans it up. For Armani, if he was allowed to get the Swarm Host out of hand, this could have been scary. But not what ended up happening. Downside 2 for our Zerg player. He's stuck on 3 bases while his opponent's on 3 bases. No macro hatchery's been slapped down. And as a Zerg player, this is kind of one of those scenarios where you don't want to be even with your opponent. You need to be better. You need to be ahead. 10 Mutalisks coming out as a bit of a transition, and the 4th base unfortunately going to be denied once again. Now, one of the key things here is we look at there's Blink Stalkers, there's Sentries. There's already a method to deal with Mutalisks on the front lines, but nothing at home to shut this down. Technically, yes, you could create Phoenixes out of the one Stargate. You Chrono Boost them out, but it's not going to be enough. Not early, not fast enough. Colossus in an awkward spot, stuck on the cliff, literally between a rock and a hard place. But the Roaches actually knock it down once again, so HuK's Colossus count is not exactly out of control. Infestation Pit will live with 30 HP as the Warp Prism is finally dealt with. 2 Colossus at a time is better than 1 Colossus at a time, but unfortunately the Roaches, actually almost get it again. Not quite going to be afforded that opportunity, but burrow in range of the cannon detection, so sadly these will go down all for nothing. The Fleet Beacon's an interesting choice. Seeing the Mutalisks, he's going to be going for the Anion Pulse Crystals and may throw down a second Stargate, but he hasn't yet is the thing. 4th base finally getting established, but the Mutalisks being driven out of the base. And this is what I was talking about before. For now, he's actually got enough to deal with this in small amounts. 10 Mutalisks is not a threat. It's 20, it's 40. It's when they get insane numbers that they can't be dealt with. For Armani too, props to them for still trying to invest in the Swarm Host a little bit, putting them on the front lines, rallying them across the map. I mean, he'll catch random probes, he'll catch random sentries out of position, but here comes that second Stargate. So 2 Phoenixes at a time with Anion Pulse Crystals can be really good. And you might think, well, that's it for the Mutalisks. They're done for. They're dead. There's no way to win this game. Protoss wins. GG. That 2 extra range is too much. But that's not the case. HuK may have to deal with the transition into Corruptors if Armani really wants to stick with his tech path. He has not invested in any weapon upgrades this game, though, guys, and that's what's kind of key here moving forward. His army supplies even with HuK's, but HuK's coming up on level 3 ground weapon upgrades. Blink Stalkers are going to deal tons of damage. There's no armor upgrade on these Mutalisks. The Swarm Hosts, granted, they're not going to be that hard to deal with if everything's dying very fast. But it looks like he will continue to invest in the Mutalisks, and these will be a primary source of his army. Now, for HuK as well, let's not forget Archons can be made as well to go under the army. The Phoenixes will chase these down all day, but for Armani, what we almost need to see out of it at this point is the second Spire for upgrades and the Corruptors to start being made, because the Corruptors will help deal with the Colossus, which is fantastic. They'll soak hits from the Phoenixes, and if the Stalkers are busy dealing with the Mutalisks and the Corruptors instead of the actual army, well, never mind. The few Swarm Hosts that exist are Graviton Beam to the air. There's a lot of Lings flooding out from this, guys, and the idea is that these Lings will deal with the Stalkers, but there's not an even trade. In fact, he may just try and circumvent the army altogether and force out a base trade, something that we do see in PvZ a lot of the time in a big frequency. But these Lings are they're not going anywhere. There's 5 Colossus to catch them as they come out. This base is getting destroyed, and Armani, well, he's got Roaches, he's got Mutalisks, he's got a very scary army. I don't think he's got the DPS to win a base trade. There's no drone snuck out of the base just yet. There's Lings awkwardly in the middle of the map. He's going to need to bring a drone across the field, though, I feel. This is going to go so poorly for him. So many cannons at a HuK on the way, but they're not done yet. But they will draw the attention. Phoenixes do have those ranged weapon upgrades, guys. So while Mutalisks only have range of 3, these have range of 7. They are fast, so getting on top of the Phoenixes is not out of the question, as we see this kind of disengaged turn around on a dime, smack them in the face move is being executed quite nicely out of Armani, but the Phoenix is just dancing, moving, shooting. A little too far away. Mutalisks say, screw it. Okay, if I can't deal with you, I'll just pick off what I can. Mothership Core almost dies, but doesn't in the end, and Armani is looking really bad at this point, guys. I don't think he can win this game. HuK may just win this series 2-0. Easy breezy. Last couple Phoenixes are actually starting to be dealt with, but all the Roaches are pretty much gone. There's no ground support for this army. There's no way to kill buildings fast enough. A few Lings made it out. I do want to stress, he made like close to 50 Lings, and only about, what, 4 on this side of the field? Base goes down, drones are on the retreat. A gold base was made, but yeah, it's kind of one of those to what avail things. HuK can win this game by killing buildings. Granted, there's an awkward extractor down here, but this is looking bad for Armani. This is looking unwinnable, quite frankly, for Armani. No drones. 19 units and dwindling. Granted, he's got a lot of overlords, but I don't think those will come into play anytime soon. Really well played out of HuK, guys. GG 2-0, and he takes the series. And I believe now the group, if I'm not mistaken. Again, Liquipedia brackets are incorrect at the moment, so I'm not sure precisely.